Story 1. I shop for a delivery service, and I am in Target about 10 to 15 times a day, 5 days a week because of it. I never wear red. Some type of animal printed on my shirt, like a fox, owl, or crow, along with leggings, are my go-to basics. I also have my car keys on a lanyard, and on this particular day, I had them around my neck. It is a tan lanyard with Grizzly Energy Products advertisements printed on it, and still not red. I am a nice person in general, and if someone walks up to me assuming I work there, and they are polite, I usually laugh and say, "I don't work here, but I know where it is." I then point them in that direction, maybe even give them an aisle number if I remember. This happens to me everywhere I shop often. My sister told me it happens to her too, and that we both just look like we know what we are doing. On this particular day, it happened twice. One woman was kind and embarrassed, but I helped her anyway and kept moving. The second lady was probably in her late 60s or early 70s, dressed in a sporty tennis-looking outfit, though it might have been for pickleball since it is really popular here. She sharply barked at me, "Where is the sunscreen?" At the time, I was in the kids' crafts aisle, looking for a specific craft kit. I was already put off, so I plainly told her that I do not work there. She quickly snapped back, "Then why would you be wearing that name tag?" I looked down and lifted what was clearly my car keys. "You mean my car keys?" I asked. "No, those are for name tags. Why would you wear it like that?" she shot back. I was dumbfounded at this point. "To keep track of my keys? They aren't just for name tags," I replied. Her only comeback at that point was, "Well, you should never wear them like that. You are just trying to confuse everyone." I smiled and said, "You are the only person who has ever thought that." She stormed off, and I immediately called my boyfriend, just giddy to tell him the story. But he spoiled my joy. "I can see how she thought that," he said. "I could have lightly kicked him in the ankle for that." Story 2. So, I just got home and finished half of my replacement pizza, and I thought I'd share why I have to refer to it as a replacement pizza. There's a pizza place close to where I live, and sometimes after a long day at work, I'm not in the mood to cook. So, I place an order through their application for takeout when I leave work and pick it up on my way home. Normally, it goes off without a problem. Sometimes, I even arrive right as they cut it and place it in their warming bags. Today, however, things just weren't going my way. As I finally got there, the delivery driver was on his way out important later, and when I was on my way back to my car, up came the pushy lady I'll call Karen. Apparently, she thought I was a delivery driver, and that they all wore business casual. I was opening my door and had my pizza on the roof of my car when she stomped up to me and started yelling. I didn't register what she was saying at first. It had been a long day at the end of a long week with little sleep. Apparently, she had ordered delivery, but the driver hadn't delivered it yet, and her kids at home were hungry. I managed to get a word in while she paused to breathe and tried to explain that I wasn't the delivery guy, but Karen wasn't having any of it. She then stopped yelling and grabbed my pizza off the roof of my car, thinking it was hers. She took one look at it, realized it wasn't hers, and threw it on the ground. I stood there, still a bit shocked at her behavior, when she opened the passenger side door of my car and got in, apparently looking for more food. I finally snapped into action, went around, and pulled her out of my car. Knowing the delivery driver had already left, I told her to go inside and yell at him. She apparently accepted that I wasn't the delivery guy, and without saying a word, stomped inside, leaving me out there with a pizza topped with extra pavement. Not willing to give her the benefit of getting away with this nonsense, I followed her inside curious to see how the staff would handle this, and to request another pizza. She was already mid-screech as I walked in and stood by the door. Apparently, she didn't believe that the delivery guy had already left because, according to her, the guy outside said he was. The person at the counter, Bob, who has worked there for a few years and is a genuinely nice guy, saw me by the door and asked if she was telling the truth. I simply told him that the lady was acting unreasonable and that she owed me a pizza. Bob then assured her that the delivery driver had left about 5 minutes ago. and she finally seemed to accept this. She started to walk toward the doors, but Bob chimed in and told her that since she wouldn't be able to get home before the driver made it there, she could pay for it at the counter, and he'd call the driver to tell him to just leave it and move on. She agreed, mumbling something about them not being as foolish as she thought. However, she quickly found a problem with the total amount, claiming it wasn't what she had been quoted over the phone. Bob then showed her what was on the receipt: her extra-large vegetarian pizza, a 2-liter bottle of soda, my large pizza, and one of those big cookies. Karen immediately went off on Bob, demanding what he was thinking by trying to charge her for all of that. Bob, somehow managing to keep a straight face, asked her if what I had said earlier was true. She replied, "So what if it is?" Bob calmly said. "You break it, you buy it. Simple as that." Karen, in a huff, turned as if she was going to run home to try to get there before the driver did, but she froze when she realized I was still standing by the door. I simply motioned with my fingers for her to turn back around and pay. Bob added that he could always call the driver and tell him not to deliver the pizza at all. She looked genuinely shocked and accused us of trying to blackmail her over a pizza, of all things. After a minute of pouting and muttering under her breath, she caved in and paid, grumbling the whole time. She then stomped out, got back into her car, and peeled out of the parking lot like she was being chased by the police. Bob told me that my new pizza would be about 12 minutes. He also mentioned that he had added the cookie as a way of apologizing on behalf of her, and he was surprised she hadn't noticed it. On top of that, he said he'd go back and void my original order so I could get a refund. We laughed about it, and eventually I walked out with a fresh, hot replacement pizza and the cookie. I thanked Bob again for dealing with her the way he did and went on my way. Later, while writing this up, I realized that Bob never actually called the delivery driver, and I made a mental note to ask him about it next time I stop in. Edit. I thought I had stated this earlier, but my pizza was just a plain one. The one thing people naturally assume once they find out I'm Hawaiian is that I like pineapple on my pizza. I really dislike that it feels like an insult to both pizza and good taste. Edit #2. I went down there earlier today to see how things turned out. And Bob was there, he's always there. Might even live there for all I know, along with the driver who was working last night. Bob said he got another angry call from Karen not long after I left, which meant she didn't live too far away. She was furious that the pizza wasn't at her house when she got home, not realizing that there were other stops on the driver's route. After she hung up, Bob called the delivery driver and filled him in on her situation. He told him to ring the bell once and then leave the food. When the driver got to Karen's house, he could hear her kids playing video games loudly, not just the game itself, but also the kids shouting at other people online. So, he rang the bell once, waited a minute, and when no one answered the door, he just left her order on the welcome mat. Neither Bob nor the driver has heard from Karen since, so for all they know, it might still be sitting out there. And for those who are apparently shocked that someone from Hawaii doesn't like pineapple on their pizza, let me clarify 2 things. First, pineapple on pizza didn't even originate in Hawaii. It was a Canadian who first tried it, so technically you can blame Canada for that combination. Second, my father grew up in New York, so I guess I inherited my fine taste in pizza from him. Story 3. So, I was in the store shopping as usual, picking up items like beans, carrots, and other groceries. I was in the soda section looking for some orange-flavored sugary soda. I won't say the brand name, just to be safe. While there, I noticed a sweet elderly lady, maybe in her 70s, struggling to get a bottle of cola. I walked over and asked if she needed help. She smiled and said it would be wonderful if I could help her shop, so I agreed. I wasn't in a rush anyway. We made it to the baking aisle when I noticed an entitled woman, let's call her Karen, and her misbehaving child. They were behind us, and when I turned around, I caught them staring. As soon as they realized I noticed, they quickly looked away. It was honestly a bit unsettling. I ignored it at first and continued helping the nice lady, but I soon realized they were following us around. That felt even more unsettling. I decided that once I finished helping the elderly woman, I would ask what their problem was. About 5 minutes later, the kind lady had everything she needed and went to check out. She even gave me $1 as a thank you, which I thought was very sweet of her. Right after I started walking away, I felt a tap on my shoulder and heard those words you can probably guess, "Excuse me." I quickly turned around, and there stood Karen and her child. I said, "Hi, can I help you?" She replied, "Go get the items on my list." Caught off guard, I asked, "I'm sorry." She repeated, "Go get them. Did you not hear me?" Still trying to remain polite, I explained, "Sorry, I don't work here." "I know you don't," she said, "but you helped that old lady. Now you will help me." I firmly replied, "No, I won't," and walked away, hoping that would be the end of it. Unfortunately, I was very wrong. As I walked away, I suddenly felt someone grab my shirt and yank it hard. The pull actually choked me for a moment, and I made a noise as I struggled for air. Karen thought I was mocking her and pulled even harder. I quickly pushed her hand off and said, "Why did you do that, you unreasonable woman?" She looked at me with a stunned expression, almost as if she didn't expect me to push back. Then, out of nowhere, she shouted, "This man assaulted me. Call the police." A smug little grin crossed her face. I begged her to stop making things up, but she snapped, "Buy my little angel some candy and help me with my shopping." I refused again and walked away. I really dislike confrontation, so I just wanted to leave the situation behind. But when I looked back, I saw something that left me speechless. Karen actually hit her own child lightly to make it seem like I had done it. The boy started crying, then pointed at me and said I was the one who hurt him. To make a long story short, the police arrived. One officer rushed over to the crying child, while the other came straight to me and asked what had happened. I calmly explained the entire story to him from the beginning. Karen overheard me and began yelling, "He hurt me and my son. Arrest him now." It was frustrating to even hear those words. Thankfully, the officers decided to check the store's security cameras. One of them spoke with the manager, while the other reviewed the footage. The moment Karen realized they were checking the cameras, her face turned pale as snow. She and her child then tried to make a run for it, but they didn't get far. Security stopped them, although I have to give credit to another amazing person who stepped in to block them first. Whoever you are, thank you. In the end, Karen was arrested for multiple offenses, and her child was placed in the care of his father. The police asked me if I wanted to press charges, but I declined. Honestly, at that point, I just wanted to go home and put the whole experience behind me. Story 4. I am the shop manager for a family-owned trailer business. I pretty much run everything because the owner, who has been my best friend for about 40 years, manages 2 other businesses on his own. Our work is high-end, as we handle everything from simple repairs to complete custom-built luxury travel trailers. Needless to say, entitled customers come with that territory. Having done this job for the last 3 decades, I am used to them and can normally handle them well. Last year, at the start of the global health situation, I was moving a trailer into the lot that had just been dropped off for repairs, so I had the gate open. As I was walking back to the gate to close and lock it, a pickup truck pulled into the lot. This gate is normally locked at all times, even before the health situation, because we are an appointment-only shop. Since we are located on a main highway between major cities, we get a lot of tourists, people who have no intention of buying anything but will waste our time. We are not a sales lot. The pickup was pulling a brand new fifth-wheel toy hauler, a very high-end model worth upwards of $200,000. This thing was huge and had all of the comforts of home and more: 2 flat-screen televisions inside, another that slid out of a compartment outside, an outdoor kitchen, and so on. I asked the driver to please back out of the gate so that I could close it, and I told him that no one was allowed to drive into the lot except employees. He jumped out of the pickup and started shouting that he had an appointment to put his trailer into storage here. I politely explained that we do not provide storage and that I had no more appointments for the day, as we were closing for the weekend. He then raised his voice even more, insisting that he was best friends with the owner and had been told that he could just drop the trailer off anytime he pleased. He proceeded to unhook the trailer right in front of me. I told him he must be in the wrong place because we do not provide storage services. But he just kept unhooking the trailer and continued yelling at me, repeating that he was the owner's best friend and could do whatever he wanted. I reminded him again that we do not store trailers for anyone. He shouted at me some more, then threw a business card and the keys to the trailer at me before jumping back into his pickup. He sped out of the lot so recklessly that his tires threw rocks, breaking 3 windows on a nearby trailer. I moved his trailer to the back of the lot and filled out a mechanic's lien, which included the damage to the windows and the cost of replacing them. The next day, I mailed off all of the required paperwork. I fully expected him to show up the following week to claim his trailer, and I planned on releasing it to him as soon as he paid for the broken windows. I sent repeated notices to the address listed on the card he had given me, but nothing ever came back. After 30 days, I was legally allowed to sell the trailer for whatever I could get out of it. I waited 2 full months, but he never returned. No calls, no emails, absolutely nothing. By the end of the 3rd month, I finally decided to sell the trailer. I got the owner to sign all of the required paperwork, since the business is a sole proprietorship and the signature had to come from him, and then I filed everything with the proper authorities. On my way home, I decided to purchase the trailer myself, which was perfectly legal because I am not the business owner. I called the owner and told him that I was buying it, and he told me that the price was $50, the cost of the paperwork. I bought the trailer, and the next month, the other 2 employees and I enjoyed a nice 4-day weekend using it. Last week, more than a year after abandoning the trailer, the entitled man showed up demanding his trailer back. I informed him that it had been sold as abandoned property because he never responded to any of the notices. You can probably guess he completely lost his temper. He called the police, telling them that we had stolen his trailer and demanding that we be arrested. The police arrived, and I showed them all of the paperwork, proving that everything had been done legally. I even offered to sell the trailer back to him for the $50 that I had paid for it, along with an apology for the way he had spoken to me when he first dropped it off. Of course, he refused. Instead, he started yelling at the officers and even tried to swing at one of them. Needless to say, that did not end well for him. It turned out that he already had a warrant out for his arrest and had been trying to flee the state. A few days later, I learned that he had embezzled a very large amount of money from the company where he had worked. He is now sitting in jail awaiting trial, and I am once again taking my new trailer out camping this weekend. Honestly, he probably could have gotten away with everything if he had just listened when I told him he was in the wrong place. Story 5. I've been lurking here and have been afraid to post because I'm awkward and don't know if my stories will be as well liked as everyone else's, so here goes. I am posting from my phone, so there might be some mistakes. The stars, myself from about 16 years ago, I'm 28, so I was 14. The entitled mother, my neighbor from across the street, a self-entitled mother. Entitled kid, 5-year-old child who obsessed over other people's stuff. The scene, my garage. During the summer between 7th and 8th grade, my parents would go to work and leave me with a giant list of chores so overwhelming, I would even try. Also, I live in Texas, so it would sometimes be too hot to try. One day, to avoid being yelled at, I decided I would attempt to do the chore, clean out the garage. My parents hoard stuff and then get upset when they can't find what they want. And my stepfather just buys stuff and doesn't even try to put it somewhere. So it's my job to organize the garage so that my mom can actually park her car. I'm moving stuff around for a few hours and I'm sweaty and hot. And all it looked like I was really doing anyway was just removing the mess. I came across my tricycle from when I was younger. I put it outside on the driveway so I can try to find a place for it later. I decide to take a break and go inside and fix some lunch. A couple minutes later, I hear rummaging in the garage and something breaks. I thought it was my cat. I look. It was the entitled kid searching through the place, looking around like he just found good treasure. Me, hey kid, where's your brother? He's grounded until Monday. Well, you should go home and play with him. What did you break? He looks like he's going to cry. Me, listen, I don't play unless your brother is there too. Please go home. So I closed the door. I thought that was the end of it. I went back to my food and VH1 music videos. When I'm done, I go back outside and I notice something is missing. The tricycle is gone. I knew who took it, the entitled kid, so I get on my bike and ride it around the block. I caught up to him in almost no time at all. He tried to start pedaling faster, but it's a tricycle, so it's not like you can do that. I want everyone to know this. This was no plastic thing that leans back. This was made out of metal and looked almost like a very small bike. So anyway, I yell at the kid to stop. He starts crying and ignores me. I pedal up to him and get in front of him. He rides into my bike and falls. I don't help him up, but I take my trike back. I put it inside the house and then go back outside to finish up in my garage. Now, from across the street to the left, I hear the entitled kid yelling to someone. I assumed it was his older sister. She was a year behind me and didn't usually care about the stuff he complained about. So I expected her to come over here and just give me a little ranting playfully and then go home. I go back to my chore and then I feel someone prod me between the shoulder blades. I assumed this to be his sister, so I turned around, ready for a pretty smile and a sarcastic chewing out. I was ill-prepared for this because it was the entitled mother in all her rage. What did you steal from my son? Me, nothing. My son says you took something from him while he was playing. Where is it? I didn't give him a thing. He tried to steal a tricycle. Where is it? Not telling you. You could have killed my boy. I look at her, very confused. Her. He was only playing. Give him his tricycle back. Me? His tricycle? He got it from my garage. Well, you're too old for it. Look, lady, I'm just trying to finish a job so that I don't have to worry about it. Please walk away. I pulled my Siemens flip phone out of my pocket and called my mom. The entitled mother promised to have my trike back when my mother came home and picked up her little thief and left. Story 6. For context, I work at a chain bakery that has a bright blue polo shirt and khaki-colored pants as the uniform, with a bakery's logo embroidered on one of the sleeves. Coming home from work on the bus, there's a small plaza at the stop before mine that has some really good pizza. Every once in a while, I'll stop by the plaza to grab a slice and then walk the rest of the way home. The pizza place's uniform is completely different. They wear a fire truck red t-shirt with the logo covering the back and black pants. If anyone can explain how Karen got these mixed up, I would truly love to know. The cast of this story is myself, the pizza girl, the manager, and Karen. Anyway, here's the story. On this particular day, I was running on 3 to 4 hours of sleep, a cheese croissant, and a coffee. I had just finished an 8 o'clock to 15 o'clock shift and hadn't had time to grab lunch during my break. Suffice it to say, I was hungry. Hungry enough that I didn't even care I was still in my work uniform. I just wanted food as soon as possible. So, I stopped by the pizza parlor, grabbed a slice, a soft drink, and a cookie for the road, and sat down as a happy customer. I had my headphones in and was scrolling through my phone while I ate, when the staff disappeared behind the counter. No big deal. About a minute later, Karen walked in. It was just me in the place at the time, and the staff was still in the kitchen. The most attention I gave her was a quick glance before looking back at my phone and taking another sip of my drink. I assumed she would just go up to the counter and order like a normal customer, but I was very wrong. Before I knew it, she was standing right beside my table, giving me that classic disapproving stare only certain people seemed capable of. This was our interaction. Me, taking out an earbud and lowering my volume. Can I help you? Karen, hi, can I get a... She begins listing her order. Catching on quickly, I said, "Oh, sorry, but I don't work here." She paused as if this information was far too difficult to process, and in the end, it seemed her brain simply could not compute. First, don't interrupt me, that's very rude. Second, that's a uniform. This is an establishment. I know you work here, so don't give me that attitude. The logic Karen was using made my own brain short-circuit, and I guess it showed on my face because the next thing I knew, her jaw dropped in shock. Then she started railing at me about my so-called horrible work ethic, berating me over wearing headphones on the job and eating food that was meant for customers. She even went as far as to say I had made a huge mistake, claiming she was a regular and had more than enough leeway to get me fired. Side note, if she really was a regular, she would have known what the actual uniform looked like. It was at that point that I remembered the logo on my sleeve, so I simply turned my arm and pointed at it. Karen stopped talking long enough to give it a proper look, and I could see the color drain from her face. I'll admit, I can be a little petty, so, to rub salt into the wound, I added in a not-so-friendly tone, "See that? That's company name. What was this place called again?" Not 2 seconds later, an actual staff member came out from behind the counter and asked if there was a problem. I thought that would be the end of it. "Karen? Yes, there's a problem. Your coworker was extremely rude to me." Yep, that's right, Karen was still insisting I worked there. The pizza girl looked at me and recognized me as the person she had just served. Ma'am, she doesn't work here." "Don't lie to me. I want to see a manager." The pizza girl went to get her manager. All the while Karen was giving me the snobbiest glare I have ever received in my life. I just sighed and took another sip of my drink. Soon enough, the pizza girl and her manager came back out. "Manager, hi, what's the problem here?" "Karen, that girl refused to take my order and was extremely rude to me. You need to discipline her." The manager, just like the pizza girl, looked at me and knew I didn't work there. "She doesn't work here, ma'am, but I can take your order if you'd like." Finally, Karen left me alone and followed the manager to place her order. I could still hear her complaining about me, though, so I started packing up my things to eat my pizza at home in peace. The pizza girl stopped me, however, handing me a takeout bag with another slice, garlic dip, and a cookie. She said it was both an apology for having to deal with Karen and a thank you for being one of their nicer regulars. That still puts a smile on my face, and this was just yesterday. On my way out, though, I heard Karen demanding a free pizza. I hope the staff handled it okay. Anyway, thank you for reading. A couple of you might be wondering why I didn't just tell Karen to leave me alone. Here's why. I was still in my work uniform and, unfortunately, that meant I was still representing the company I work for. I'm generally pretty non-confrontational since I have a mild form of social anxiety. I was simply too tired to really care. I work in retail, and I run into people like this all the time. Eventually, you learn how to just turn your brain off and block out the nonsense. Update. Anyway, I just got home from work, and I've been itching to post this. So, on shift today, it was myself, my manager, an absolute angel, by the way, and my buddy, let's call him James. I had already told them what happened the day I posted the story, which was the day after it occurred. I shared it partly because I wanted to give my side of the story in case Karen actually called, but mostly because I just needed to get it off my chest. My manager laughed when I told her, but she also said not to worry about it, so I didn't. Fast forward to today, and our district manager came in for a visit, doing the usual checkups and routine stuff. But at the end of her visit, things got very interesting. She asked us for our opinions on a certain matter. What was that matter, you ask? Whether or not she should block a certain caller from being able to contact her at our head office. Manager: why? What's this caller been doing? District manager: she keeps calling to see if I've fired one of our employees. Manager: what do you mean? What happened? District manager: initially, she called to complain that one of our girls was being inappropriate and rude to her. The only thing is, she didn't have a name, and the incident didn't happen at one of our stores. All she had was a description and the fact that the person was wearing our uniform. I told her there wasn't anything I could do, and she hung up on me. But she's called a few times since then to see if I've taken action, and it's becoming really annoying. James and I exchanged a look. You know the type, the "you don't think it's her, do you?" kind of look. James: Wait, what was the description? The district manager scoffed. It wasn't even a good one. She just said the girl was short, had black hair, mid-toned skin, and brown eyes. That could be anyone. She then gestured toward me. Look, it could even be her. There was a small pause, and then James started laughing. My manager, catching on. Oh my goodness, do you think it was? Me? No, no way. District manager. Wait, what's going on? She turned to me. Do you know something? Was it actually you? I couldn't help it, I just burst out laughing. James and my manager joined in, and then our district manager smiled. It was you, wasn't it? She asked. I nodded, still laughing, and then explained what had really happened. After I finished the story, my district manager laughed as well and assured me she would go ahead and have the number blocked. So, the score stands as follows. Bakery employee 1, Karen.